Welcome to another In Wheel Time podcast, a 30-minute mini version of the In Wheel Time car show that airs live every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central. Welcome to the In Wheel Time car talk show. Just ahead, it's our man in the electric chair, Buzz Smith, who will join us with an update on the line waiting for a charging station in Florida. Mr. Mars reviews the new 22 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter. Okay. Did you pack the house inside of it? Conrad has the events calendar. We'll have a look at the stories making news headlines. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We need more Jeff Zekin and our special in-studio guest, Robert B. McIntyre. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad that you could join us on this Saturday. And also joining us today is, ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Mr. Electric, Buzz Smith. Buzz, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Don. How are you?
Well, very good, thank you. Where are you? What is that behind you?
What's the background picture?
That's from Fully Charged Live out in San Diego. That is the Aptera Gamma. And I'd never seen one in person. In fact, back in 2014, I'd written on my blog an article called Why So Frou-Frou, because they made EVs back then look so weird. And this was one of the example cars. And once I saw it in person, I fell in love with it. It's an awesome car.
Is it a three-wheeler?
Yes, it is.
Two front, one rear?
Two front, one rear.
How cool.
Unless it's going the other way.
And
it's in reverse.
Interesting that they could find capacity for batteries in that.
Actually, that's one of the cool things about this car. They have two CEOs. So one of the CEOs got his start in boat design. And so he was all about computational fluid dynamics and making it sleeker so you could get through the water. Well, the same thing's true in EVs. And so a lot of EVs, take the Hummer, for example, they keep adding these larger and larger battery packs, which are very expensive to get to any kind of decent range. Well, at Aptera, they're top of the line without going to a huge battery pack, because of the aerodynamics, can go 1,000 miles on a single charge.
Well,
are you kidding me?
Probably also a lot of carbon fiber in it as well to keep it lightweight.
A lot of carbon fiber, and the roof has automotive grade solar panels. So they claim that sitting out in the sun, it'll gain 40 miles of range per day. So some people may never even plug theirs in. It would become a solar car, for a standard commuter. But with 1,000 miles range, you could go cross country in this thing, no problem.
So Buzz, there's a college engineering departments that they make those single-seater, and they have contests for to see who can build. That sort of looks like one of those designs to me.
Yeah, the ones that the students make aren't quite as sleek as this, because they don't have the ability to get to this level of mass production. But that's one of the big competitions. And, you always hear about how rare lithium ion is. It's really not that rare. But especially here in the United States, we just haven't been mining for it. And it's not really mining. They do it with evaporative pools. So it's like skimming it off the top of an ancient seabed or something. But
and do they use
in the U.S.? We're getting lithium ion or lithium deposits like around the Salton Sea in California. So we're going to have plenty, I believe. But the issue is the design methodology. When we first went from horse-drawn carriages to gasoline-powered vehicles, remember, they looked like horse-drawn carriages at first, and they would have the motor in the back or underneath the driver's seat or something. And over time, it morphed into what we think of as a normal automobile now. Well, now we're moving into a completely different world where the engine doesn't have to be under the hood in the front. And so I honestly think we can't really predict what the cars of the future are going to look like, because all of the design rules we went by in the past are just going away. And designers have a completely blank slate to start from now. And I think we're starting to see some of the imaginative stuff that's coming.
So is the Aptera in production?
They are in the gamma stage of production. So they're in final testing and all. They will be in production either before the end of this year or very early next year. And they'll start delivering them to customers.
So you can't really tell, but assume it's a two-passenger or three?
It is a two-passenger. That entire back area is a huge hatchback area. And someone my height, 5'6", could stretch out completely. A couple of people could with sleeping bags. And so think about this. If you've got 1,000 miles of range when you go camping, if you get to the campsite and it's raining or it's a really hot night, well, heck, just lay in the car, turn on the AC, let it run all night long.
Let it
It's
eat.
not gonna matter.
So are they sitting side by side? Is the seating side by side or front to back?
Yeah, side-by-side seating.
So it'd be more like a standard car, or what we think is a real car nowadays.
Yeah, they're getting past some of the requirements that the law requires for four-wheeled vehicles. A lot of people are coming out with three-wheeled EVs to get to market faster. But Adterra's been at this, like I said, at least since 2014. So they've been at this a while. And I think this is going to be one of the cars to watch. The fully charged TV show, comes to the United States once a year, and it's fully charged live here. It was in Austin last year. It was in San Diego this year. At this show, and this was really a consumer show for electronics. It's not an industry show as much. That car had a 45-minute line for people to see it the entire time the show was open. And there were tons of other vehicles to see. But this one was, I think, the hit of the show.
So what are you currently doing? Because we know you're extremely active in the EV community as far as educating people, educating dealerships and such. Where have you been working here lately?
Well, thank goodness, COVID's dying off, or at least seasonally dying off. We'll see this winter, but
You
I've been
can't
able
use
to
COVID
actually
and
get
die
out
in
in
the same
public. So I
sentence.
spoke at Fully Charged Live. I just a week ago was at Move America 2022, which is more of an industry show down in Austin, Texas. I've worked with 5 OEMs so far, some of which I can't divulge the names of, but the last one I was engaged with was very interesting because this is an OEM, not a dealership. They actually asked me, do you think the dealership model is going to survive? And so the OEMs realize they have a problem in the dealership world. The dealerships right now are very mistrusting of the OEMs.
For good reason.
Yeah, for good reason. Absolutely. I used to sell vehicles at a dealership, so I have kind of split loyalties here. I do want to see rapid market adoption of EVs, and I think dealerships are a problem for that. But they have a chance to turn things around. But I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we're either going to see dealerships go away. There won't be these huge parking lots full of cars. It'll be like a Tesla store. They'll have to have some inventory for the people whose cars get totaled and they need a car right away. But we may be moving into a future where you order a car like you order a Tesla today, and 8 weeks later your car shows up.
Well, we're not really that far from that today, considering
True.
the issue with inventory. I don't see the dealership model of 4 years ago of 1,200 to 1,400 units on the ground. I don't think that's ever going to return. I think a lot of these dealers like the fact that they can get customers to order vehicles online and then deliver the vehicles over a period of time. Just the manufacturer needs to figure out how to shorten that window down.
Yeah, Conrad, we spent a lot of time looking through the inventory of other dealerships and doing dealer trades when they wanted a specific color or upholstery or special option. So I think if they, and isn't it weird that we had this pandemic and supply chain issues all at the same time, which kind of reset the whole world. I mean, a lot of people are working from home now, at least part of the time. And people are, it's just changing how we do everything. Amazon shopping, I think, is really ramped up during this time, and ordering cars and waiting for them has become the new norm.
I don't think it's weird. I think it was planned.
That's interesting.
The
By the way,
the
that
New
previous-
World Order.
All right, so we'll save the politics for another show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
that-
talking
that
about the
previous-
wrestling group, the NWO.
That kind of looks like one of those vehicles. If you take the body off, we see them a lot down in Galveston, the 3-wheelers with the 2-seater.
The slingshots.
Slingshot. That's what that reminds me of.
Yeah, a friend of mine has a slingshot. Those are pretty cool, but they are loud.
Automotive News did a story this week. The title is, "Here are nearly 150 EVs, plug-in hybrids headed to the U.S. dealerships through 2026." And there is 18 pages of one-paragraph descriptions from every manufacturer, some I haven't even heard of. So everybody is on board, it seems, at this point. What is your projection? Do you think that things are just going to zoom out the door electrically here in the next year or two?
Yeah, I mean, especially what I'm seeing at these consumer shows, there's a lot better attendance. The Houston Auto and Boat Show this year was very well attended in the EV area. The North Texas Auto Show had an indoor ride event. You couldn't drive the car, but you could ride in it. And they had an acceleration lane so that people could really experience that acceleration. And just like in the days when I sold these cars, people got out of the test drive and their entire face was a smile, and you could see the adrenaline in them and how it was a completely life-changing event. In fact, at the Houston Auto Show, I'd stand in front of the line that was going to the ride event and or North Texas show, and I'd ask, how many of you have ever ridden in an EV before? And very few hands would go up. And I'd say, okay, for most of you, you're about to experience a life-changing event. And people would roll their eyes, and you could tell they thought, oh, this is really
Yeah. From the guy wearing the green sequin jacket.
Life-changing event.
Oh, red that time. But
Yeah,
when they came out, they would come find me and go, oh, my God, you were right. That was so amazing. I can't believe it. I've never thought EVs could be like that. And then the actual public unveilings of vehicles are happening. So when I was in San Diego, for the first time, I got to see the Fisker Ocean in person. That is a really nice looking SUV. The Aptera that I mentioned before that's on the screen behind me. The Canoe Lifestyle vehicle was there, but it was a last minute addition, so they didn't have any company reps there. Fortunately, I'm a shareholder with Canoe, so I got to go to the shareholder event and see it there.
Do you canoe?
Canoe.
Canoe? Do you canoe?
Well, you're showing your age now.
Yes, I am.
Don's an Old Spice guy.
No, that's right.
That
Dick
people haven't
Gottlieb
really
was.
thought through yet. The Ford F-150 Lightning got a lot of press about saying, hey, you can power your house for 3 days. But to do that, when the grid is down, you've got to disconnect your house from the grid, or you can electrocute the people that are working on the grid. So you've got to have an automatic disconnect. There are some other things that you have to do before you can really run your house. And so at this consumer show, Wallbox was there, and at the industry show I saw in Austin, there were other charger manufacturers there, and they're all starting to roll out these chargers that are called V2G or V2H. So it's vehicle to grid or vehicle to home. So you can plug your car in, and if the grid goes down, that huge battery pack in your car can power your house. And like Ford says, up to 3 days. And that would have been great, during the ice storm in Houston or during the hurricanes in Florida. And in fact, in Florida, we've seen the chargers came back faster than the gas stations did. So a lot of EV drivers, one, could drive through deeper water. And two, they could actually recharge their vehicles if they had to use public charging. Those things came back pretty faster. But there's a lot of interest now in the vehicle to grid and vehicle to home stuff. And then also at the shows, tons of motorcycles, and out in California, you don't see this in Texas as much, tons of vehicle conversions. So people are taking those vehicles that they've loved all their lives. My first car was a 67 Camaro Rally Sport. And they're just saying, hey, I want that car, but I want it to be electric. And there are conversion companies out there. I still think it's cost prohibitive to do for most of us. But, Chevy is offering the Bolt EV battery pack and motor as a crate motor. So the vehicle, even the OEMs of cars are starting to realize, hey, there's going to be a huge hobbyist market for this.
So the vehicle behind you, 1,000-mile range.
Does that come with
any special adapters for either 220, 110? I mean, how long would that take to charge? Is it a normal process? Can you go down to the Whole Foods?
It's a smaller battery pack than most of them. So you're seeing some cars like the new Kia EV6 can add 200 miles of range in 18 minutes if you find a 350 kilowatt charger, or actually 175 kilowatt charger. But it depends on the charger that you're connected to. But this thing could probably add 200 miles of range in 10 minutes because the battery is so much smaller and it takes so little electricity to move this thing down the road.
So right now, I think the largest car show in the country is going on up in Dallas, which is the Texas State Fair. Is there a dedicated EV section to the car show at the Texas State Fair?
Absolutely. In fact, Texas has a really big one this year. I have not seen it myself, so I can't really speak with any knowledge of it directly, but I've seen that they do have a very large EV display area, and my plans are to make it out there probably with either the red sequin tuxedo or the Funslinger outfit on, and go talk to people about how cool EVs are.
You need to wear the red sequin tuxedo and put on the back of it, Boomer Sooner.
Yeah, this weekend you do. Yeah, yeah.
And then you'll get beat up.
Yeah.
I have to tell you that I just got out of a Lexus LC 500 hybrid, and I was thoroughly impressed. And I will tell you that I'm slowly coming over to your side. Shut up. All right, look. What is
He's
that?
falling out of
He's
his
got
chair.
he's having a heart attack.
My left arm. My left arm.
Yeah, I was impressed, and I've turned into a fan. Of course, it is $100,000 car, you realize,
Many of them are.
but it did get 30 miles per gallon. I didn't put any gas in it, and I went 500 miles and still had a quarter tank left. So that was impressive. So shut up, and I would like to think that for those that are still iffy and really not fully on board, that a hybrid, whether it be a plug-in or a one like the LC that is all self-contained, may be the way to go.
Okay, has anybody checked for pods? Don't go to sleep. Something's happened to Don here. Find Don. He's not here.
I know. Well, you knew it was going to happen sooner or later. Now,
He's been abducted by the aliens.
as far as the EV thing goes, I'm not too sure about that. I had
Yeah,
another
you
one
weren't
of
too sure about plug-in hybrids 2 years ago. I got you, man. I'm reeling you in.
Well, I marked it on 10/8 at
The net
9:15 is when he
out.
stated
We're
it.
about
So
to scoop you on board. Now,
We'll
one
watch
thing
the
I do
rebroadcast.
believe, and I've been driving electrically for 10 years and a plug-in hybrid. I do believe the age of hybrids is over, but it's not for those that, like you said, still are hearing about range anxiety and lack of charging infrastructure and all that. I think of plug-in hybrids as the training wheels for EVs. So, it's a way to learn about them. It's a way to get used to them. But a plug-in hybrid specifically, because it will stay electric no matter how fast you're going until you run out of electricity completely. For most people, and this was my experience, is a 100% electric vehicle most days. I mean, if I drive to Austin, yeah, it switches to gasoline. But if I'm staying in the DFW area, I'm 100% electric all day long.
Exactly. Right. And again, I go back to infrastructure and the fact that, all I can imagine is what the lines were like in Florida when everybody was trying to get out of the way of a hurricane. And I would imagine that lines were stupidly long because of the lack of charging facilities on the road.
Well, actually, it's the exact opposite, and here's why.
Okay.
Most people
You
charge
know,
at
you
home.
sound like one of my ex-wives. I'm not sure which one.
All three of them.
But most people are going to charge at home, at least those that don't live in apartments. And the vast majority of Americans drive less than 40 miles a day. So even on a 110 outlet being plugged in overnight, they will be fully charged. So when there's a storm coming and everybody's lining up at the gas station to get gas, guess what? The EV driver's already down the road because they didn't have to stop for fuel. They were already topped off. They're topped off every night. Then when you get into stop and go traffic, think about the MPG ratings you see on window stickers. In bumper-to-bumper traffic, gasoline cars' mileage goes way down because it's just sitting there idling and not gaining any miles forward. An electric vehicle shuts down when it stops. And so stop-and-go traffic, we can get hundreds of miles of range on a single charge. So when Houston evacuated, I can't remember, is this 10 years, more than 10 years ago, my brother and his family had to evacuate. And they called us up. They were in a gasoline-powered vehicle, and all the gas stations were sold out along the freeway. They were on fumes practically, and he called me so that I could get on Google, find a gas station that was further off the freeway so that people weren't, lining up there, and then call them to make sure they had fuel and guide him to it. So in an evacuation situation, now I do agree, in the long run, we're going to need a lot more infrastructure. I think we're fine right now, but we need more. But the public perception is what we have to work on. But right now, in an emergency situation, you're much better off having a modern electric vehicle with 200 to 300 miles of range to get the hell out of Dodge than you would a gasoline car.
But don't you find that when it's stated 200 to 300 mile range, that most of the time it's about half that because real world driving is not on some damn closed course. Shut up.
No, I'm actually finding, just like EPA gasoline standards, if you're not towing a giant trailer behind you or something, they're pretty accurate. Now, with electric vehicles, especially if they don't have a heat pump for cooling, you'll find that the seasonal changes are pretty vast. But they're in the spring and autumn when it's beautiful outside, you'll find you're actually getting much better range than the government claims you'll get if you can keep your foot off the floorboard.
Well,
and EV drivers were, and I did this when I started. I had my foot on the floor all the time because I love the acceleration. Now I'm kind of used to it, so I don't hot rod it as much as I used to.
And an EV battery's range is longer the warmer it is. So if you're driving an EV up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan in the middle of January, your range shortens up because a cold battery doesn't have the range along a hot battery has.
Everything shortens up in the cold.
Yeah, in fact, one thing I'll do in Texas, it's more of a winter thing, but when I'm going to drive in the winter, I remotely start my car 10 minutes before I leave while it's still plugged into the charger, and
just
then
to
I'm
warm it
using
up.
current from the grid to warm up the battery before I hit the road.
Well, Buzz, it's always good to talk to you, and we really appreciate it, as always. And, it's so much fun for me to talk to you because you're always such good about taking a ribbing, and you got me this morning, didn't you?
I did. One other thing, your previous guest sitting there had a gasoline car catch on fire, and it wasn't on the cover of every automotive magazine and website around the world. And I just wonder, how can that be?
Yeah.
I thought all car fires were on the front of every newspaper.
Yeah.
Only when it's an EV
Yeah,
and they're
okay.
trying to push a political point of view.
We love you, Buzz. Thank you, man.
Thanks
And
for coming on,
Yeah,
Buzz.
guys, great to see y'all again.
You too. Thanks again.
I'll see you at the Houston Auto Show.
You got it.
Very
All right,
good.
time now for the events calendar, and Conrad has events. We have events.
Yep. And coming up tonight is the Nifty 50s up in the Woodlands. The Allstate Grand Opening Automotive Car Show in Kingwood is tonight, and that is at 875
309.
Hamblin Road in Kingwood. Cars and Coffee off of Westheimer in Katy. The fundraiser car show and bike show is in Kearns, Texas, and that's this afternoon at 3 p.m. And then tomorrow is the third annual car and truck show off of Commercial Drive in Rosenberg. That's a $25 entry. The October Hot Rod Madness on the Rocks off of Lowetta Road is tomorrow at 9 a.m. Also tomorrow at 9 a.m. is a Detail Garage in Rosenberg is having a car show. Monday night meets at Becker Wraps in College Station, and that's 8:30 p.m. And then Classic Vehicle Cruise Night on the 12th at Joker's Ice House.
Ooh.
Let's go there. Joker's Ice House.
Joker's
I
Ice
like
House.
it.
I like
All
it.
right, thank you, sir. Not for this hour's car review. Mr. Mars had a chance to drive the moving van,
Yes, I did.
the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, and what was that, 3/4 ton?
2,500
How many
cargo
donkeys
van.
fit in that?
Yeah, this is
Donkeys fit in.
Because
Yes,
you can
they
haul
do.
donkeys.
Yeah,
We've got a
Yeah.
special donkey guest.
yes. I'm telling you, I can't think of his name now. All of a sudden,
Monty.
Monty.
Monty, the
would
singing
have
dog.
lots of room in here. We
Yep.
can make a nice bed out of it. This is the 2,500 cargo van. It's a 170-inch high roof. I mean, you can get in this thing.
You can't get into a parking garage, though.
No, you can't. This thing, I had to put it on a certain side of my driveway because it was so tall. The tree would rub on the roof of it, and I didn't want to scratch up the paint. And this thing is bigger than my truck.
We hate tree rubbing.
Yes, tree rubbing is bad.
As opposed to tree
This is
hugging.
actually considered a heavy-duty productivity utility van. And so the back of it is wide open, so it's got lots of room for cargo. And on the outside of it, we had some optional roof rails that were on it. We had electric folding side mirrors. We had the 270-inch or 270-degree rear doors, so they really open up wide. And it's got 16-inch wheels that it's rolling on, a two-stage sliding side door. Now, on the inside of it, we had the leatherette black seating for two. We didn't have the seating for three. We had a little console right in the middle of it. 7-inch touchscreen. And there was the wall behind the driver and the passenger, there was a solid wall that partitioned it off from the cargo area. Had a window in it, so you could look into the back of it, and your rearview mirror could actually look through it into the cargo area. So it's set up for transporting a lot of stuff back there. And it came from the factory with a wood floor type thing with some D-rings in it for tying your cargo down.
A wood floor thing. Explain that to me.
Well, because it really wasn't. When I say wood floor, I'm thinking about slats, but it was more like sheets of a wooden material. It wasn't really what I would consider plat. Yeah, here you go.
Yeah, strand board.
Yes, and it actually was up on the sides as well.
Wood.
Yeah.
So we also had the satellite radio, the 7-inch touchscreen with a 360-degree parking package, so we could see all the way around it, which in this vehicle, you need that to be able to see around it. And again, the full-width partition window. Now, up under the hood, it was rather interesting. I thought we had the 3.0-liter V6 turbo diesel, which I think is a very good choice for this vehicle. It's got plenty of torque because you got to think you're going to be hauling a load. Does 161 horsepower down at 3,800 RPM. So this thing will actually tow, as it's equipped, 5,000 pounds, and the haul rating is a little over 4,000 pounds. So you got the diesel, you got a 7-speed, you got some nice haul rating, you can put a lot of stuff in it. And
you could have been an Amazon delivery person.
Well, I was looking for something to haul in.
I know.
Every time he pulled up to the neighbor's house, they were expecting him to deliver something.
Yeah, I called all my kids and everything. I couldn't find anybody to move anything. So I drove this thing for a week off and on, and I got like 18 and a half miles to the gallon on this thing. And I was really surprised at that. Some of that was out on the highway, obviously. And I was surprised at the amount of power that this thing had, low end torque, which if you think about it, I'm going to load it up with up to 5,000 pounds on the tow and then maybe 3,000 or 4,000 pounds inside of it. So it needs that kind of power. So it'd be real interesting to load it up and really see what it would do. And I also think I liked going down the highway. It really wasn't top heavy. So we hit a little bit of wind. You could tell there was a little bit there because it's big. Now, comparing it to something else, the only thing I found that was even close is if you could really rig out a Ford
Winnebago.
Transit. Well, or Winnebago, yes. So this vehicle, it's MSRP as equipped, is $59,555, which for a business cargo van that you really want to use.
And they sell
I could see
tons of them.
Yes.
I've got two of my guys have them as their delivery vehicles right now.
We'll see. Yeah.
And you also see, and George Skelton on Facebook is saying, you also see a lot of them used as RV conversions as well.
Well, I think
they had pictures.
Yeah,
there were
one of the
pictures
there.
they were very nice.
RVs, seatings, in-town buses. There's lots of uses for this thing.
All right. Thank you, sir. The In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available 24/7 through the iHeart Radio app. Just look for In-Wheel Time Car Talk. We also stream on Facebook, YouTube, and InWheelTime.com. And podcasts are available at your fingertips from your favorite podcast source. In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show continues right after this quick break. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is having a car social. Saturday, October 15th, 9 to noon. It's a cruise-in like no other. Expect Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsches, Corvettes, and Shelby Mustangs. Get social at this first-ever event. You'll also see Gulf Coast Auto Shield's private workshop. Questions are welcomed. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is easy to get to at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway near West Airport Boulevard, just south of the Southwest Freeway. Car Social takes place Saturday, October 15th, 9 to noon. Tell your friends, bring your car, and enjoy this rare opportunity to see Houston's finest rides. You'll also learn about nano-ceramic coatings, ExoShield for your windshield, and XPEL window tint, among others. The In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show will be there, too. Join us for Car Social at Gulf Coast Auto Shield Saturday, October 15th, 9 to noon at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway. Visit gcautoshield.com to see the show flyer and all the details. Starting to work on your Christmas calendar? Be sure to add the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In Saturday, December 17th. You'll want to attend Tailpipes and Tacos Christmas Edition at the Loopy Tortilla in Katy, 8 to 11 a.m. It's the only place cruisers compete for Loopy's Chili Pepper trophies and other prizes. There's no charge to enter your vehicle for Best Hot Rod, Best Classic, or Best Modern Classic. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's coolest and most unique cruise-in and is your opportunity to see the best hot rods, show cars, classics, and resto mods. And get Loopy Tortilla breakfast tacos with adult beverages.
There's no entry fee and cars will automatically compete for those much sought-after custom Loopy trophies and other prizes. It happens at the Loopy Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10. It's the Tailpipes and Tacos Christmas Edition, Saturday, December 17th. The In Real Time Car Talk Show will be there too. Celebrate the Christmas season with friends and family at Tailpipes and Tacos. Saturday morning, December 17th, 8 to 11. We'll see you then, weather permitting.